What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And this is one of those videos that's going to get me in a lot of trouble from a lot of different camps because I'm going to show a thing. I'm going to show two sides of that thing. I'm even going to be a little bit hypocritical in this video, which is kind of fair because I'm going to be talking to myself in this video as much as I'm talking to anybody else who watches it. But I feel like I need to make this video after this thought has been bouncing around in my head for the last couple of weeks. I just want to get it out of my head and into a video. And this is another one of those videos that YouTubers make all the time because this is our job, this is our livelihood. We are very concerned about this website. I'm very concerned about this website, not only as a creator, but as someone who uses it every single day and watches a wide variety of different people. I watch progressive people and conservative people and people down the middle and people who push the fringes of the envelope for their comedic style and things along that lines. I watch a lot of edgy stuff here on YouTube, and I certainly don't want that stuff to go away. But at the same time, I don't want YouTube to go away either, because YouTube is pretty much, we're trapped here as creators. And you see these huge creators who've already made their fortunes, like, say, PewDiePie, but they keep coming back to YouTube, right? In this love-hate relationship. And obviously, you see people like Bernie Burns, who says if you don't control your own space on the internet, you're an idiot. But even Bernie Burns continues to upload to YouTube because this is pretty much the way that it gets done, and this is the way that you do it. There is no real competition over YouTube, and chances are there's not going to be any competition anytime soon. And when I say we're trapped here, I don't just mean the money. There are other ways to make money on the internet. Lord knows I do them with merchandising and Twitch and things along that lines. But when it comes to video hosting, there really is not a lot of options out there, much less any that pay you. Most of them you have to pay for. And I guess if you made enough money from Patreon or something along that lines, you probably could afford your own web hosting. But people don't realize when you're uploading a 1080p or a 4K video and then serving it 100,000 times, 500,000 times, a million times, how much that server is going to cost you, how much that bandwidth is going to cost you. YouTube does that as a service for free. Nobody else can afford to do that. Now, I couldn't afford to do it. Most competitors can't afford to do it. We're stuck using this service. The problem with being stuck here is that I love freedom of expression and freedom of speech, and I love pushing the envelope a little bit from time to time with my Francis sketches and the videos and the swearing. And if you follow me on Twitch or Twitter, you know I push the envelope there too. I love being able to express myself, and I believe that you have the right to express yourself, even if what you have to say is unpopular. Now, I do think the line is drawn somewhere at harmful speech, especially intentionally harmful speech. You can't shout fire in a crowded theater, for example. But right up to that line, I think you should be able to say or do whatever you want to, no matter how unpopular it happens to be. And for whatever good reason you have to do it, if you have a good reason, I think you should be able to do it. Obviously, YouTube no longer feels that way, and that's kind of a problem. Now, YouTube is actually really good at getting rid of harmful speech. And I mean, like, straight up hate speech and evil stuff, and it's stuff like doxing another YouTuber or putting out personal information out there, or even with the Logan Paul situation. They took a while to respond, but they did eventually respond, and I'm glad that they did. But that was one of those interesting areas where what YouTube considers to be harmful is kind of a gray area, and that's what I want to talk about today. Speaking of the Logan Paul situation, that should not have been a gray area. That should have been an obvious flaw. But at least one person at YouTube saw that video long enough to put it on the trending page, because the trending page is obviously curated. But on top of that, many people have reported that it did get flagged. It did go through the flagging program, and someone in the flagger program said, no, this video is fine because the intent is good. The intent is pure. That shows you what we're working with. That shows you what a bizarre gray area that harmful speech versus unpopular speech can result in. And that's the biggest issue I think YouTube faces right now, is trying to differentiate between harmful and unpopular speech. Unpopular just being stuff like religion or politics or things along that lines that they don't want advertisers dealing on, and treating it differently than they would an actual attack video or showing corpses or things along that lines. YouTube has two methodologies to do that. The first is the horrible AI bot that they've written and tried to train over the last year. It continues to do a terrible job because it thinks video gameplay, with zombies' heads getting blown off, that is harmful speech sometimes, at the very least unpopular enough to not be advertised on. They can continue to try to train that bot, and hopefully they'll get it right, but I don't know that they will. They can also bring in people, and it looks like Google has announced that they're going to help YouTube by hiring 10,000 people to start vetting content here on YouTube. They're not going to be looking at every video, though, because that's just far too much content. They'll be looking at what they call the Google Preferred tier, which is like 1% of the creators here on YouTube that get the most views, that go all the way to the top. And I think the goal there is to prevent stuff like Logan Paul's video from accidentally going viral. If somebody makes a mistake in that Google 1% tier, the people that represent YouTube as a whole, then they'll be able to shut it down before it goes anywhere and makes news headlines. That's probably better. But again, will they be using the guidelines of, is this actually harmful versus is this unpopular? And that's what makes me nervous. YouTube should always be a place to put unpopular things. I love the fact that sometimes when there's a war going on and people need to get a message out about what's going on in their country or in their city, they're able to upload that here to YouTube. And I think that you should be able to preach whatever political stance that you have or whatever stance when it comes to society that you want to have, even if I vastly disagree with it, right up to the edge of harmful speech. I think if you want to make a joke and you want to make a joke at somebody else's expense and you want to be comical and you want to be funny, I think that's okay too, right up to, again, to the edge of that being harmful. I should also say when it comes to comedy, by the way, I have a very broad spectrum of what I consider to be not harmful. Pretty much when it's a joke, everything is pretty much okay, 98% of the time. As long as the joke is good, it serves a purpose, it makes people laugh, and it's clearly a joke. Some people will use that as an excuse to hide purposely harmful speech. I don't get down with that, but right up to that line, I'm cool. The flip side of all of this is knowing that YouTube is a private corporation and that Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Walmart and all these different companies, they are private organizations. They get to determine where they spend their money. And monetization, getting paid for your videos, is a privilege, not a right. So if I choose to do something that's unpopular, make a political video talking about my politics, or create a new Francis video, knowing that they very rarely will advertise my latest Francis videos, I'm making the decision to choose unpopular speech over a paycheck. And that's just how it works these days. And I don't like that. I wish it wasn't that way, but that's how it is. And that's how it's going to stay. Now, I know not every creator is going to agree with that statement, and that's okay. But here's one I think we can all agree with, and viewers alike. My biggest concern is that YouTube will eventually start treating unpopular speech the same way they do harmful speech, because they consider it to be harmful to the website or perhaps harmful to the politics that they personally disagree with. And I know that's a bit of a conspiracy theory that we hear about all the time, but it does seem like something that could very much be a future reality. And so they start shutting down YouTubers whose politics they don't agree with, or they start shutting down comedians who start pushing the edge, or maybe they just tweak the algorithm to get that content from showing up as often in searches, or maybe they start ghost banning people in searches so that nobody can find them. They stop helping channels like that grow, even though there is an audience for them, all for the purposes of making the website look a little more advertiser friendly. That is like the dark dystopian future that I think a lot of people use as a straw man argument for their negative videos and the attack videos and their doxing attempts and their crazy stuff. But it's also very much a reality that I think everybody should be concerned about, and I think most creators are. And I think the only solution to that comes down to the backs of every creator. I think creators like me and creators like you, the person watching right now, you have to have a certain level of personal responsibility. And that's very different from self-censorship. I am not recommending that you play exactly by the rules and do just the most popular things so you get paid the most so the website flourishes. That's not what I'm asking you to do. In fact, just to say right here, if I ever tell a creator not to be true to themselves, including myself, and if I ever tell a creator not to create the type of content that they want and that they are passionate about, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to just hack into my channel and delete my channel because I don't deserve it anymore. What I'm suggesting for other creators is something that I'm suggesting to myself here today, and I've suggested several times on Twitter as well, is that we continue to make our unpopular videos, that we continue to push the barriers of language, we continue to push the barriers of politics, we continue to push the barriers of comedy, and do that, but only upload it when it's good. Only upload it when it serves a purpose. And if the intent and that purpose of that video is a good intent and purpose, then that's when we do it. We don't do it just for the sake of doing it. We don't take risks for no good reason. We show the personal responsibility that using unpopular speech is good and useful, but we treat it with the gravity that it deserves, right? And so that way, with someone who disagrees with us, like an advertiser or an executive over at YouTube or Google, when they see the video, they say, even though I disagree with this, I see the purpose of the video, I see the intent, I understand why they created it. And of course, even that has its limits. I mean, you probably shouldn't openly mock a recent suicide victim right in front of their freshly dead corpse, for example. Because at the end of the day, I think someone who is misguided but means well would tell us that we need to get all of the dirty, nasty stuff off of YouTube, all of the unpopular things, the things that people don't like, the edge YouTubers, the cringe YouTubers, the rage YouTubers, and get it to where it's just this antiseptic, Viner invasion, super simple, super easy stuff that everyone can digest, and it comes across just like the Jimmy Fallon or the Jimmy Kimmel show, something that everyone will agree with, and like warm puppies and kitties, and I think that person means well, but they're absolutely getting it wrong. because that's not what YouTube is about. YouTube used to be and should always be about expressing yourself. The problem is, with the ability to express yourself comes great power, and with that power comes great responsibility. And yes, I know I'm quoting Spider-Man there, so let me quote somebody else. Jacksepticeye made a video, and he said simply this: "We are better than this, and we should be. And we need to be if we want YouTube to be around, because they will shut us down at the first chance they get. We are giving them a lot of chances." So I'm just saying, maybe we should be careful. Maybe we should pick and choose our battles. Maybe we should pick and choose when we push the edge and the envelopes. And I got to say, some of my favorite comedians, Sam Kinison, George Carlin, they push the envelopes. And I always wanted to do that. And I've always admired that. I don't do it because I'm not very good at it, though. Right? The difference between me and George Carlin, the difference between George Carlin and your average YouTuber, it's not just a crack, it's a chasm, okay? And if you're ever as funny or as good as the George Carlins, the Bo Burnhams of the world, then push all the edges you want. Walk right up to the edge and take a leap off if you want. Until then, people like me and probably you, we need to be responsible. And there's definitely some YouTubers who get it right every single day. When you look at the Filthy Franks of the world, the Max Mofos, the iDubbbz, the H3H3s, those guys nail it. They really do. They do it exactly right. And that's why they continue to be the golden children of YouTube and some of the most popular people here. Even if the execs at YouTube can't agree with what they're doing, they certainly agree with how they do it. And that's fine. And here's the hypocritical bit. I push the edge for edge's sake. Sometimes I still do it on Twitch. Sometimes with the Francis videos, there's no purpose other than just I feel like it would be fun to break something and be cathartic. I've made my share of mistakes and I've done my share of damage on this website. And certainly I've never went viral about it. It's never made mainstream media, but there have been some articles written and I need to do better. And because I know I need to do better, I think it's okay to ask everyone to join me and do it with me. Still kind of hypocritical though. And that's my opinion of this whole situation, and this is what's been rattling around in my head for the last 3 weeks, and every time I have an opportunity to talk with a YouTuber, I talk to them about this. Most of them agree with me, some of them disagree with me, and I'm sure that a large portion of my audience will as well, but that's why we have a comment section, and that's why I want to give you an opportunity to tell me what you think in the comment section below. I will be reading your comments, I will respond to some of them, and I look forward to reading them. This is such a complicated issue, and it's such a scary, scary thing, because I love, obviously, getting a paycheck and being able to work from my home. But more than anything, I love being able to express myself. I love being able to talk with you every day. I love the power to create this video and share it with you and put it into your head, and so that you can affect my heart and my head in the same way. It's the most powerful thing in the world, and I just want to do something to protect it. I don't know what that is, and I don't know how to do it. I know it's certainly not stifling free speech, though, and people who think that, you're just wrong. You're just wrong. It's probably the worst thing you could do. That's not protecting expressing yourself. That's destroying it. But that's just one man's opinion. I could be wrong, and I know you'll let me know in the comments section below if I am. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.